Hello YouTubers, gamers, and random surfers of the interwebs. It is me, Kyle, your game tech guy, and I am here on special request. I have a viewer who bought a PlayStation 4 and is also wanting to purchase an Xbox One, and they want to know great reasons why that would be a good idea. This video will also be helpful if you're on the fence of which console to buy. These are some great tips about Xbox One. If you have questions about the PS4 and why that would be a good idea for you, go ahead and let me know. So, this one goes out to Garett's dad. First thing I want to talk about is the user interface. I just did my PlayStation 4 first impressions, and it is something that it is lacking greatly. No innovation, pretty simple, something Microsoft really vamped up, customizable, resizable tiles, looks really neat, really fresh. You can use the Kinect on it, you could use voice control, you can use your phone through Xbox One Smart Glass to control it, or just simply the controller. Pretty neat. Pretty fancy looking, definitely looking next gen, and something I am excited about. Second, we have the controller. When it comes to the controllers, Microsoft has always dominated the market. They're the people who prefer the DualShock 3, but the Xbox 360 is what most professional gamers would talk about. Now, Sony made leaps and bounds with their next console. The DualShock 4 is much, much more amazing than the DualShock 3 was. But Microsoft spent millions and millions of dollars pouring into how to make their Xbox 3 controller even better. They didn't do things fancy, they didn't put touchpads on it, although they did try, and they even tried to put a smell indicator in there with cartridges you would slide in for a game to replicate the smells of where you would be in that location. What they decided to do was just streamline it even more, make a professional gaming controller, and make it better. And I tell you what, after playing at PAX, and I have one purchased that I've been messing around with, I can't wait to get my hands on the console, it is perfect. Third thing I want to talk about, the Kinect. This thing looks fantastic. The little bit I got to mess around with it, it was flawless. From what they've said online, it also has heat sensing and heart rate sensing capabilities. The camera does run full HD, unlike the PlayStation camera, and they're actually using it for practical applications of games, such as making noises in Dead Rising 3 will attract zombies, tilting your head in Battlefield 4 will make it to where you can lean around corners, and being able to just shake your controller to kick zombies off in Dead Rising 3 are just a few of those ideas. Now, keep in mind these are not forced. It is Microsoft trying to implement practical ideas using the Kinect, and they can be shut off on any of these titles. Just something really neat that's going to try, and it's great to see them taking the risk with that one. Next is games. Now, I'm just talking about launch lineup games, not PS3 games, not hopeful sequels, nothing in the future, not Titanfall, not Uncharted 4. I mean just launch lineup. PlayStation came out and they had some decent games with Killzone and Blacklight Retribution, which are the only two I really recommended to people. Resogun was free, and I suggest you pick it up because it is, but it will get old after an hour and a half. Microsoft, on the other hand, may have two less games in their launch lineup than Sony did, but they're bringing out the big guns. First of all, they're taking Forza Motorsport 5, which out of all the games I have played is definitely the most visual pleasing of the next generation, even more so than Killzone was. Definitely a game for huge racing fans or people just wanting to see the true power of the Xbox One. Also, Dead Rising 3. It's already gotten some great reviews. Open world game, tons of fun, co-op, something to goof off and have with your friends. Great for those adventure game lovers. They're also bringing out Rise Son of Rome. Really curious to see how this game does. At PAX, I was not a huge fan of it, but from the hype that I've been hearing from the internet, a lot of these reviewers are starting to enjoy it more and more, especially as they dive into the story. Keep your eye online because that will be reviewed and be allowed to be posted within the next 2 days. Really curious to see how that goes. Microsoft, though, with their games, have much more wide of a range for people, and I'm really excited to see where they go with that. Next thing is the online support for number 5. Xbox Live has always been the dominant online gameplay area for gamers. Now, PC gamers would argue otherwise, but one thing you have to realize is there's so many different ways to game on PC. Now, Steam is great, but can be much more confusing than Xbox Live. I'll be honest, they made it so simple for stupid people, and I love it. Now, the PlayStation Network really tried to improve this generation. They are forcing people to pay to try to up their servers, while still giving away free stuff. Pretty cool, pretty interesting, but Microsoft also upped their server count and is allowing any developer to use dedicated servers. I don't know if this is going to come at a cost or not, but I assume it would. So, seeing what developers use it will be very interesting. But when it comes to online play, Xbox Live is the place to be. Which leads me to my next thing, games for gold. We've seen it being used on the Xbox 360 recently, where they're giving out free full titles of Xbox 360 games once a month. Now, very interesting take, and unlike the PlayStation 3, they're not giving away recently new games, but they are fairly old. It has been recently announced, though, that this will be moving to Xbox One, and we will be getting Xbox One titles. They haven't said if these are going to be full Xbox One titles or arcade titles, but it is still very exciting, as we will get all the benefits on the online play, plus free games. The great things about their free games is if you decide you don't want Xbox Live anymore and strictly want a single-player console, these games stay playable. They do not disappear like they do on the PlayStation Network. Now, PlayStation Network does have it to where if you resubscribe, you get that game's full version back. So, wins, losses, it's going to be pretty cool. Free games, I don't think there is a loss there. Alright, next thing, just Xbox One getting more powerful over time using cloud services. Really interested to see how this is going to work. Now, in order to do this, they're going to require you to be online for the games you play. But there is talk of having certain games where when you are required to be online, they can substitute RAM and make more powerful graphics by pulling it from a cloud server. Not much has been mentioned on how this is going to affect gameplay or how much greater it can make it look, but definitely an intriguing thing, and I love how Microsoft's always willing to take risks and be innovative with their consoles. Next thing, it's simple. Microsoft has money. Their advertising is crazy and dominates when it comes to marketing. Sony's advertising, on the other hand, you saw online here and there, but they didn't have billboards plastered across New York like Microsoft did. The other thing is because of the mass amounts of money, they're willing to take those risks. Now, in the lifespan of the PS3, the operating system we had was the operating system we had. On the Xbox 360, on the other hand, we got to see it change multiple times. Not always for the good, but definitely something interesting. And Xbox Live avatars were not originally on the system as well, but were later implemented. Now, with this new user interface the Xbox One has, I'm really interested to see ways that they're going to update and make things a lot neater for us. Alright, next one that I think is really cool is indie support. Now, Sony jumped on this bandwagon very early and grabbed a lot of indie support and talked about it. The problem is Microsoft didn't. After it became such a big deal online, they started to reveal their plans and what they were going to do. First of all, Microsoft is making every console to where it's going to be able to be a dev kit. All you have to do is call, prove you're a company, and you get an online code that you can activate the console as a dev kit. So one, that's going to save any developers anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 on the dev kit alone. Secondly, they also said anyone with access to Xbox Live will be able to use Unity on any of the unlocked dev kits for their consoles. This also means that any indie developer automatically has access to that, making it completely free to develop their games as long as they're doing it on the Xbox One console. This is extremely intriguing to me, as a lot of startup companies do not have the cash to fork over and don't want to spend $7,000 in order to make their first game that may or may not make the money back. So this would be a great option, and I think we'll see, unfortunately, a lot of horrible indie games, but at least a lot of them coming to the Xbox One. And then last but not least is choices for gamers. One thing a lot of people complained about is Microsoft changing their policies. I think it was extremely great. As you saw that we had concerns as gamers with some of the things that they were going to be implementing with the Xbox One, and they were extremely quick to switch it back. That means throughout the life of the console, we should be able to give feedback and see changes implemented. Now, like I mentioned before, seeing the changes on the Xbox 360 interface throughout the life cycle means that they are willing and able to change things on their console. And I believe if we're concerned with something, they're going to be willing to do that. Well, I hope this helped. If you guys have any other questions, leave them in the comments below and I will be happy to answer. And game on!